This video is on arrogance. The first subsection is other miscellaneous things. 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 23 says, "Don't have arrogance." Samuel to Saul said, "For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry." It's interesting to know, I never thought of it this way before, but if arrogance is like the evil of idolatry, there's a lot in the Bible against idolatry. And so that's an extremely important thing not to have, is arrogance. Proverbs chapter 8 verse 13 says, "Hates arrogance." It says, wisdom is speaking here, and it says, "I hate arrogance." Wisdom says, "I hate arrogance." That's incredible too. It's another sign that if you have wisdom, you don't have pride, you don't have arrogance, you have humility. If you want to not be arrogant, have wisdom, it seems to say. The next subsection is arrogant people have generally bad character. Psalm 73 verse 3 says, "Don't be arrogant." It says, "For I envied the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. They scoff and speak with malice. In their arrogance they threaten oppression." Proverbs chapter 21 verse 24 says, "Don't be an arrogant man." It says, "The proud and arrogant man, mocker is his name. He behaves with overweening pride." I don't want to be called a mocker, but that's the proud and arrogant man. That's his name. Mark chapter 7 verse 22 says, "Don't have arrogance come from within, out of your heart." Jesus says, "For from within, out of men's hearts, come arrogance. All these evils come from inside and make a man unclean." The next subsection is being arrogant leads to negative consequences. Job chapter 35 verse 12 says, "Don't have arrogance." It says about God, "He does not answer when men cry out because of the arrogance of the wicked." That's a significant verse too. I want God to hear me. I want God to answer me when I cry out. But he does not answer when men cry out because of the arrogance of the wicked. Psalm 5 verse 5 says, "Don't be arrogant." It says about God, "The arrogant cannot stand in your presence." Psalm 119 verse 21 says about God, "You rebuke the arrogant, who are cursed, and who stray from your commands." So the arrogant are cursed. God rebukes the arrogant. The arrogant stray from God's commands. Those are horrible, horrible things. Don't be arrogant. Hosea chapter 7 verse 10 says, "Don't have arrogance." It says, "Israel's arrogance testifies against him." The verse also goes on to say that many bad things happen because of this arrogance. Isaiah chapter 2 verse 11 says, "Don't be an arrogant man." It says, "The eyes of the arrogant man will be humbled, and the pride of men brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day." So in that day, I'm still not positive what the context is, but it's some horrible, awesome day of the Lord. And you don't want to be humbled on that day. You want to already be humble. Isaiah chapter 2 verse 17 says, "Don't have arrogance." It says, "The arrogance of man will be brought low, and the pride of men humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day." Again, many bad things will happen to people who have to be brought low because of their arrogance in that day. Isaiah chapter 13 verse 11 says, "Don't have arrogance." It says, "I will punish the world for its evil, the wicked for their sins. I will put an end to the arrogance of the haughty, and will humble the pride of the ruthless. I will make man scarcer than pure gold, more rare than the gold of Ophir." So don't be arrogant. God will put an end to the arrogance of the haughty during that day in which he'll make man scarcer than pure gold. Isaiah chapter 33 verse 19 says, "Don't be an arrogant person." It says, "In your thoughts you will ponder the former terror. Where is that chief officer? Where is the one who took the revenue? Where is the officer in charge of the towers? You will see those arrogant people no more, those people of an obscure speech, with their strange, incomprehensible tongue. Look upon Zion, the city of our festivals. Your eyes will see Jerusalem, a peaceful abode, a tent that will not be moved. Its stakes will never be pulled up, nor any of its ropes broken. But again, you will see those arrogant people no more." Jeremiah chapter 13 verse 15 says, "Don't be arrogant." God says, "I will smash them, one against the other, fathers and sons alike, declares the Lord. I will allow no pity or mercy or compassion to keep me from destroying them." Then Jeremiah says, "Hear and pay attention, do not be arrogant, for the Lord has spoken." Jeremiah chapter 48 verse 29 says, "Don't have arrogance." God says, "We have heard of Moab's pride, her overweening pride and conceit, her pride and arrogance, and the haughtiness of her heart. Therefore I wail over Moab." It's a horrible thing when God wails over you, in this part of the Bible at least. Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 31 says, "Don't be arrogant." God says, "See, I am against you, O arrogant one, declares the Lord Almighty. For your day has come, the time for you to be punished." Many other horrible things happen here, but don't have God be against you. Don't have the time, your day come, and the time for you to be punished. Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 32 says, "Don't be arrogant." God says, the arrogant one will stumble and fall, and no one will help her up. I will kindle a fire in her towns that will consume all who are around her. Doesn't sound good. Don't be arrogant. Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 10 says, "Don't have arrogance blossom." God says, "The day is here, it has come. Doom has burst forth, the rod has budded, arrogance has blossomed." Many other horrible things happen later on. Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 49 says, "Don't be arrogant." God says, "Now this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant. They did not help the poor and needy." This is a significant verse. It says what the sin of Sodom, at least one of them, was. This was the sin of your sister Sodom. They were arrogant. Sodom was arrogant. They did not help the poor and needy. Sodom was destroyed completely. Fire rained down from heaven. Daniel chapter 5 verse 20 says, "Don't have your hearts become arrogant." Daniel is talking about King Nebuchadnezzar. He says, "But when his heart became arrogant and hardened with pride, he was deposed from his royal throne and stripped of his glory." That's motivating. Malachi chapter 4 verse 1 says, "Don't be arrogant." God says, "Surely the day is coming. It will burn like a furnace. All the arrogant and every evildoer will be stubble. And that day is coming and will set them on fire, says the Lord Almighty. Not a root or a branch will be left to them." Romans chapter 11 verse 20 says, "Don't be arrogant." Paul says, "Granted, but they were broken off because of unbelief, and you stand by faith. Do not be arrogant, but be afraid. For if God did not spare the natural branches, he will not spare you either." 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 11 says, "Don't be arrogant." Peter says, "The Lord knows how to rescue godly men from trials, and to hold the unrighteous for the day of judgment, while continuing their punishment. Bold and arrogant, these men." And then the verse continues.